Okay, so welcome. Hello, how are you? I thought what we would do tonight, it's going to be about meditation. And rather than have a regular class on it, I thought it would be a good idea just to talk about it. So let's approach it from this direction. Let's say that you had just your perfect meditation routine, or better than that, you're just really happy with your meditation. However, which way you're doing it, it's really working for you.
Mhm.
So, what would your life look like? I mean, how would it be different if you were really, really in flow, in a good flow with your meditation? What would that do to your life?
I think it would bring peace, a lot of peace.
Hmm.
Um, when Teresa mentioned judgment, a lot of that kind of stuff, I mean, this is my opinion, is in your mind. If I'm judging somebody, um, if I just, anywhere, whether I'm driving or in a store or,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden these thoughts start through, um, I try to quiet that. I've been really working on that so that I'm just seeing everybody as another person in Christ, or seeing Jesus in them and not seeing all the making the judgments.
It would be so
Um,
much easier if they just get their act together, right?
well, yeah, but but I watched this was I watched this video on YouTube, and it's where these 4 or 5 men from Pakistan tribes are being exposed to modern day things,
Hmm.
that they've never heard before, whether it's a song or um, food. It's American stuff, food or songs or bands, and it's been really fascinating because they're from these tribes that they've never seen any of this stuff, and
Yeah.
they're trying to understand. And anyway, judgment came up somewhere in one of them. And this one guy said, well, that's really simple. He says, because when you're judging yourself or judging someone else, what you're doing is judging God. Like, if you think that somebody's isn't perfect or the way you think they should be, then you're saying that God didn't do the right thing when they created them. And anyway, it was a real simple approach. That was their thing. And I just thought that was an interesting way, like for me to get out of the way and just not be,
Yeah.
just accept people or things. Yeah.
And that would be more of a
And that's hard to do.
peaceful. That would be more of a
Yeah.
peaceful. Yeah. Yeah. Mm.
Because otherwise you get hung up in all this stuff. And especially now in the world, it's so crazy. It's real easy to go, you know, after them, you know. Um, I mean, I don't watch the daily news anymore. I don't watch world news. I may look up one particular thing that happened, but otherwise, I can't even handle it. I don't want to know. I don't want to have to deal with all that negativity and stuff like that.
So
So,
uh, everyone think that meditation would help with that, right? That's is that kind of like a goal or an outcome that you would like to have? I mean, as
yeah.
meditating. Yeah, Eli.
Yeah, if you said the ideal state, right? What that would look like, what occurs to me immediately is it would look miraculous. It would look like, not personally per se, but everywhere, everyone, everything I see would be a very different, um, well, not so much even different, but miraculous. I think that is how things would occur.
When you take all that um, I don't know if it's really judgment or if it's just this constant observation or constant checking or constant whatever our mind does.
Oh.
Not that we shouldn't be able to still be discerning, um, being in the world, but not being as affected by it. For me, just to be okay in all of those without it being any issue. Like, what is it that is stirring? That it not stir in me, would be peaceful and I'd be flowing within it and of it. But I don't know if that's exactly what we're supposed to be doing here.
Right, right. Yeah. So maybe we should talk about peace, because peace seems to be kind of a common goal when it comes to meditating. So what does that mean? What does it mean to be peaceful? Does it mean, not being bothered by anything, or maybe something else?
Not reacting to everything.
Not reacting. Okay.
Seeing things as they are and just letting it go. Like, I hate to use it, but every time I turn something, if I turn something on and Trump is on, or he said something or done something, I just struggle with that. And my first thought, honestly, is he's an idiot. And right away, I mean, I haven't quite conquered that yet, but I have to work on that every time. And I thought, you need to see him. Yeah, just let him be. He's doing whatever he's doing. God knows why, whatever. But, forgive him, love him, see him as a fellow, a brother in Christ, and not reacting, not judge him and not react to it. That
So-
doesn't mean I think what he's doing right, of course, but
Yeah. Well, reactivity, that's a good one. So what would it be? What would it look like? I mean, we're going to react, right? I mean, reacting is kind of part of that's the way our nervous system works. We do react to.
yeah.
I would
So what would be a way to react properly? Let's say, use that word, or let me get ahead of the curve, maybe. What?
Mm-hmm.
How
Is it okay to be angry?
Is it?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes things make you angry.
How about you other two? Think anger is okay?
Do I
No.
think anger's okay? I right at this exact moment, I don't really have an opinion about it. Anger, just at this exact moment. When it comes to peace, I will share something with you that is one of the most profound experiences for me, working over the years with the tarot, and it came through the Temperance Key, which in the tarot is the holy guardian angel. And so I had this communication from the holy guardian angel, and I was basically asked him, I was like, hey, is there like some formula word or a name that I can call on so I can have this reconnection, right? Like to make this a more consistent experience. Okay, because this is very, it's what, and he looked at me and he's like, not really, not really.
Not really.
But he said, but there is a word. This is literally what he told me. And I was like, and I'm listening. He said, and it's peace. And it means knowing he is in control.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that was that's still coming through. But trusting in that and resting and knowing that he's in control. That's absolute peace.
Mhm.
Anyway, I just wanted to share that.
And not overthinking it, you know? I had a lady start talking to me when I was at Lowe's. And I don't know why, but she started talking to me about a homeless guy that was out in front of the store and, asking for money. And she just retired and she was living on Social Security and she couldn't afford to give him money, but she said, I wouldn't do it anyway because I don't know what he's going to do with it and he might not use it right. And I says, but you have no control over that. You have to, if you're going to give somebody something, or you just do it, and then, that's where that peace comes from. I've gotten to that point with working with the homeless little bit that I do, is I have no control over what other people are going to do. If I see they have a need, I can help them as much as I can, whatever, if it's something physical that I can help them and, be the vessel that is used to help them. But I have no control over what that other person is doing. And that by working on that has given me a lot of peace.
Yeah.
That brings peace. Yeah.
So a word comes up for me, the word fear, because fear can really disturb us. That can be damaging to any kind of a peaceful state we manage to attain. So what about that? And how does fear relate to anger? And, and specifically, how does meditation help us in that kind of a dynamic? Fear, I mean, and there are two kinds of fear, really. There's fear that something's going to happen to you, and then there's fear that you're not going to respond in the best way or in an appropriate way, or something happens and you feel the duty or the responsibility to step in, and then fear can keep you from doing that. So fear works both ways. It's both offensive and defensive kind of fears.
A mechanism too. Like if you had an experience as a young person and your reaction to it was something out of control, let's say explosive anger, and that was a way of protecting yourself from that fear or that feeling. So if you never look at that, you may still have that mechanism going forward for the same kind of reaction to something else similar to it that creates that same feeling.
So it's in the driver's seat, then you're not even aware of it, but it's a mechanism. It's your coping mechanism that you're unconscious to, right?
Yes.
And so-
Meditation.
Yeah, go ahead.
And meditation could take you out of that space to give you a different environment. It's kind of like a light switch, where you're turning it on and kind of magnifying and clearing it out, so to speak, where you can kind of step away from that program for something that's a little higher.
So it sounds to me like what you're describing is self-awareness. You're watching. You're watching. Yeah.
Absolutely that. That's most, right, of the issue for most things that are occur to, that's driving when fear's in control, right? It's like today I noticed I was telling a story to some of my coworkers about some event that happened in the past. And I was watching myself tell the story and I saw how I like reshaped the story. Okay. Like to make myself look like a little better than I did in actually. And then afterwards I reflected immediately on it and I was like, I wasn't completely honest, because in the actual event in the past, what was driving me was fear. But now
Mhm.
that I know that the thing that I feared hadn't happened, it was like this little skit was being played out, like this little kid, and if this is making sense. And I was just telling the story is like, and then I was like, yeah, that wasn't totally honest, but I, I just self-awareness is key, right? Just
Mhm.
being authentic. And if we can stay like in the present and actually watch how we're doing without all the judgment, but just accepting what's happening, like you said,
Mhm.
then the fear isn't, it's laughable. Most things are
Mhm.
laughable.
Mhm.
That's
Me
all I
too.
got.
Me too.
Okay.
Just in case you want to know, we're talking about meditation and what it would look like if we were really satisfied with our meditation practice, and what our lives would look like. And that took us into, reactivity and fear and peace. Peace seems to be very important to everyone as a result of having a good meditation practice. And then we're looking at fear and these other reactions that we have as an upset. So but feel free anytime if you want to join in. Just wanted to extend that to you. So we know you're here and you're very welcome.
I'd like to say one thing too, um, that I think is really important in our meditations. Um, this occurs to me, and it's semi-frequently. So we've all had these experiences where you go into a deep meditation, you have this just overwhelming experience of bliss and light and love, and right.
Mhm. Mhm.
This is There's this temptation or this pattern in the mind, it sometimes, that when we enter into a state of meditation, we want to repeat like some previous pleasurable experience, right? And that a lot of times seems to be an obstacle
Mhm.
to what is actually just because we don't know what's going to come through.
Mhm.
And it's only in staying in that space and accepting and trusting that what's going to come through is what's supposed to come through, that pattern, instead of just, it seems like it's an easy thing to get hung up on. For me, I can't speak for everyone, but I don't think I'm particularly unique in this. um
Mm.
but it's helpful to recognize. It's like you sit there, you whatever, you let go, you let go, you sit there, you let go, because you're wanting this thing and you're like, well, where's the light, where's the light, where's the light? And then when you finally just let go
Yeah.
of wanting this certain experience, then what is real comes through.
Mhm.
That's all I want to say.
I have just one comment about fear when you're talking about it. Um, Fear can be really powerful, and it's kind of an underlying, to me, it's like an underlying emotion. It's there, you know, but whether you give it life or go with it, and it can be a showstopper. When I started cutting back on things, and because I was just getting too overwhelmed with all of it, um, finally I went and I sat down to do a meditation. And I really didn't know what I was going to meditate on. I just thought, sit down, shut your eyes, be quiet, light the candle, and let's go. And so I did that. And after I got quiet and got centered, I heard this voice say, "What are you afraid of?" And I thought, "What? I'm not afraid of anything," you know. But it was a really eye-opening moment, because there were things that were holding me back on my spiritual path that I was afraid of, you know. Um, I was afraid to let go of, or I was afraid to let people know, or I was afraid to share, or, you know, things like, well, I don't know, just different things, just reacting, to other people and seeing other people. I thought everybody was growing except for me. And I was, what's wrong with me? And I didn't want to share what I was going through with anybody because I thought, well, surely this is, just this minor, small little thing, compared to what everybody else is experiencing. But
So here's an interesting question then to add on, piggyback on top of this. We were asking just a moment ago if anger was okay. What about fear? Is fear something that we can never let ourselves be, can we never let ourselves be afraid? Do we have to rise above fear? Is that the only way to deal with it?
No, I think the best way is to stay present with it. Don't suppress it. Just stay present with it.
Mm.
Whatever's there.
So what
Mhm.
does that look like?
That looks like strength.
Yeah.
well, for me, when I did that, again, what came out of that meditation was a very peaceful feeling because things came up that, I had to look at this and that and just different things. And I didn't think they were that big of a deal. They were personal things. Apparently I did. I was, keeping it inside and burying it. But when it started coming up through there, I went, oh, well, that's not that bad. I can let go of that. And anyway, it was just, yeah, strength would be the other thing.
Yeah.
Peaceful, and I felt stronger.
I need to. How nice.
I finally made it.
Yes, good.
Oh,
I wanted to share something related to what Rennie just mentioned, and I think for me, fear comes out of wanting to fit in. It's only when I think I'm not fitting into what people want me to look like or do things like, and that is when the struggle happens.
can't hear
I'm
you.
comfortable.
Oh, we lost your sound there for a second.
Yeah, so so when I am doing me and I'm being myself, I think I perform the best, and I'm happy, I'm satisfied, and there's no fear. But when I want to live up to somebody's expectation, or there are expectations, that is when this fear of being judged,
Mm.
and
Yes.
hence the pressure of performance, and
Mhm.
hence fear.
Mhm.
For me, that's for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, because we're we know we can pass judgment, so we know other people are passing judgment, and often you're still deflecting against what could be a judgment on you, but what can it really do to you? And I think is where we get caught up in our fears, like we let our fear control us.
Exactly.
We've been conditioned to believe these things.
Mhm.
Well, we can't, discount the judgment of others because in some situations that can be deadly. I mean, the threat can be very real. The judgment of other people can make a huge difference. Whether we get a certain job or not, or whether they're going to let us walk down the street unscathed or not. So
Right.
yeah. So what kind of frame of mind would you like to have in order to deal with that? If you were really, if you really had that handled, what would that feel like? To be able to live in the world where there's judgment coming at you all the time, but it not only doesn't affect you, but you're able to maybe diffuse it, maybe reverse it, maybe manage it, something like that. Is that part of it?
Sometimes I think the what was forgive your neighbors, was it 70 times 7 or something like that? And I think, oh heck no. Like I'll give you,
Oh.
3.
Okay. Teresa, I love you.
That's New York, right? 70 times 7 just doesn't fly in New York.
Like, nope.
Get 3 strikes.
That's it. Sorry, you're in New York. It's 3 only here. Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, I guess it's getting to that place of, and I have to honestly say that on a daily basis, there's so much judgment that flies in a workplace that you have to kind of forgive over and over and over and over and let the judgments go and not judge yourself and not judge others and kind of just keep going around this cycle. And it's like, how do I get to that point where, yeah, I'm not participating? I'm not
I think the
not part of the
workplace
equation.
is, I think the workplace is the worst with that kind of stuff,
Oh, yeah.
getting in
Mhm.
that bubble and,
I think too, I try to always figure things out. And I think that gets me in trouble because it's like, I want to know what the cause of an issue is so that maybe we can solve it.
Mhm.
Not that I want to beat it up forever. I want to try to root up what it is that needs to be corrected so that it can be moved on. And that could
Right.
be, a cyclic thing that's never ending.
Mhm.
So you're talking about standards, right?
Mm, it's just trying to figure out if there's something that could be done to help a situation. Could we do it? And I think always in trying to figure things out, I kind of get into them instead of just figuring them.
How about the
Become
word
part of the
bound-
equation.
How about the word boundary?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that because that relates directly to fear, to judgment,
No.
Mhm.
peace. It's like who was it? Abraham Lincoln, I think, said, "Good fences make good neighbors."
Yes.
Mhm.
I had someone counsel me not too long ago, or give me some words of wisdom. Michael, you might know them. But so in short, if one is oneself and regardless of the fears and the wants and the desires, just you decide, you make an act, you move on it in any way, if it's authentically coming from you, the world will adjust. It
Mhm.
will adjust. It
Yes.
will almost never turn out poorly or badly for you if you stand in your own conviction, or you say this is happening
Mhm.
no matter what, come hell or high water, whatever,
Right.
and the world will adjust.
Yep.
So I think that's a good, I'm still learning this,
Mhm.
but it's a very powerful lesson and a very
Mhm.
liberating.
Yeah.
It's almost like the world wants you to do that, right? Because
It
people,
is, right?
yeah, because we all want, if we're in a group situation, especially like in a work environment, we
Mhm.
want somebody who knows what the hell is going on and who will step up and take charge, or at least not so much take charge, but just clear the way, to
Correct.
clarify the situation.
Exactly.
We all
Yeah.
want it, right?
Yeah, to bring some order.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
But
Things start to get
it's
chaotic. Yeah.
but facing one's fears and doing what one is compelled from within to do, no matter, that that clears those obstacles, doesn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
of course, there's grace. Let's just be real here.
But
Mhm.
grace happens as a result of stepping up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sounds like we're raising the consciousness here or something.
Yeah.
You think? Yeah.
Oh, darn.
Darn. Somebody has to go and raise the consciousness.
Well, that's true in any leadership role, or somebody has to be in charge, or at least, get things to a place of order, or otherwise you wouldn't couldn't move forward. It'd be like stuck in the mud, like,
Right.
yeah.
And it's always it's really great when you can be in an environment where that's understood by everybody and that nobody has to, walk on eggshells. If somebody has a good idea or somebody can bring a little order into the chaos, they have an implicit permission to do that, to speak up, into, and then even the manager or the owner, if they're worth their salt, then they welcome that, And once the way is clarified, then the manager, the person in charge, can step in and be, benefit by and implement this new clarity brought by somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Where humility really comes in there too, right? Yeah.
So if we're being our real, authentic selves and we're not rallying against fear, and we're okay with getting a little dirty once in a while and not passing judgment on ourselves,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
then we really are in a deeper meditative space
Mm-hmm.
because we've made that space.
You've made that space. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's very cool.
It's deep.
This was a good idea.
Well, we want to be deep every once in a while. Yeah.
But I like the discussion because it's good to hear what other people are going through or experienced, and to find out that, it's pretty much the same as what I'm going. I always feel like I'm out there on this limb by myself, and everybody else nobody else is going through this, but we're all,
You're the
go-
old
just me. It's just happening.
Meditation hotline.
Yeah.
Are you having a calamity? Take a deep breath.
I don't know. Meditation. That's
So
funny.
Sounds good.
in here almost.
Call it every 5 minutes.
If anybody needs to leave, feel free to go ahead and bow out. And we're still recording, so you can see what you miss if you need to go. Otherwise, we'll keep going for a little bit.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So it seems like I thank you everyone because this is very cool for me. But it seems like just a keystone or cornerstone of meditation is authenticity, right? Just being exactly where one is, no matter what it is, just
Mm-hmm.
what that is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And letting that be. And then, yeah,
Yeah.
then it's interesting, right? Then, because we don't know what's going to happen. I don't think, Michael, you talk about that a lot, about how God doesn't know what happens next.
Right. Right. Yeah, when something comes up, if you slip out of integrity and you don't really respond in the way that your whole being wants to respond, then it's like stepping out of an airplane when it's going 600 miles an hour, right? It's going to be very uncomfortable, and you'll have friction and things start to get very, jammed up. So it's almost like, sometimes taking a risk and being authentic in the midst of chaos is the safest thing you can do. Otherwise, you just get churned, you get lost in the churn, and then your peace is out the window.
Well, it's like the only position, authenticity is the only true place of power.
Yeah.
It's the only real place of power.
So how does humility play in with authenticity? Can you be humble and authentic?
I think they're almost identical.
Everybody else feel that way? Think that?
Okay, maybe I want to say something there. So authentic self and humility for me, they don't go hand in hand because uh, I can be very egoistic, I can be very arrogant, and so it depends in what space am I operating in. So uh, if I know of something, then the space of my ego or the way my ego meets it is very different. And vis-a-vis when I am in a space where I don't know anything and I'm really curious, I'm interested, and that's when my ego consciousness works from a very different level. So I think, like I think Teresa mentioned about raising the consciousness. So that plays a very important role. From where are you operating? Where are you present? Like in this meeting, I don't have to show off, so I can kind of let go of my ego and just stay there. But if I'm the presenter in a meeting, my ego has to, even if I don't want to, but I need to operate from a different consciousness. So I really wanted to mention this meditation part, as in how I see meditation. I was always told how to meditate, or I read about it. So you should feel calm, no thoughts, and I kind of never managed to do that, and that's why I thought I can never meditate. And that is actually wrong. Meditation does not mean that, clearing thoughts and just being in your body. It's about starting accepting where you are. I think if somebody would have told me that, I would have started meditating long back rather than waiting so long to figure it out. So I think there's a lot of, like Rennie said about leaders. Leaders need to lead. Today, our leaders are learners. They are learning and then leading, and then learning and then leading. There is no harm in it. But then they always need to be one step ahead of whom they are leading. I feel,
In order to be in integrity, they have to do that, right?
yes,
Yeah.
Mhm.
yes.
So integrity is a big component of this. Yeah.
Mhm.
So say that again, Neetu, if you had realized that meditation was about what? About,
So it was about just accepting your state of being rather than trying to get rid of the thoughts and,
yeah,
the way the world looks at meditation, that you're going to be like Buddha. And that doesn't happen.
yes, right, right.
Mhm.
Yes, that is such a powerful place to be in, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
Mhm.
Because then too, I mean, you can be afraid. You can be in a situation where you're really afraid, and if you just accept that you're afraid, then you're
Mhm.
not piling. Like I had this realization a long time ago that I was more afraid of being afraid than I was afraid that
Mhm.
I was afraid of.
Yeah,
Oh no, somebody
right.
would see that I'm afraid, or I'm going to see that I'm afraid, and then it just all bunches up. Makes it so much worse.
Oh, the
I'm glad you
tangle web we weave.
I'm glad you said that because I watched something recently that was just like this big light bulb went off. I was like, yes, it's like someone said, I was listening to Jordan Peterson talk about what motivates people. And he's talking about selling things. And he's like, you think that you offer people a solution to a problem and that's what they want. And they'll buy. And they're like, and he's like, no, it's not how it works at all. It's like, people desire 40 or 50 things typically, and then they'll wait to the last minute to buy one thing. But here's the point. He said, what motivates most human beings today is fear of failure.
Yeah.
And I thought, man, that is so accurate
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
far as what as actually driving the ego of whatever must, because people, I can look at my own mind, it's like, I don't want to fail, don't want to fail, whatever, don't fail, don't fail. And I was like, God, yes, that's exactly correct. And it's not like it's not something to fix. That's more of the don't fail thing, but just being conscious, becoming aware of it, right, is half the battle. Anyway,
Yeah. Yeah. That's great.
found that really enlightening.
It was good.
This, yeah, and coming from someone, that has a large platform like that.
Yeah.
I think what Nitu was saying too is like being with the consciousness that you're in. Because in the book that we're reading on Tuesday nights, the next chapter actually, he discusses, the author of the book discusses how most people don't even know, like what they're doing here or what's going on. Like they're just living their lives and they're in whatever place they're in. And, we're all,
Mm.
again, back to the judgment thing. But he was saying like when you go back home to heaven, like when you go back to heaven, there's you're going to end up in a place in heaven that matches your consciousness. Like he's saying, like there's levels and there's mansions and there's where Jesus is and blah blah blah, like that, like there's differences, but you're going to be okay with wherever you are. Like wherever you are, there you go. I think was the old expression.
Somebody said something earlier, it might have been Michael, about being authentic and having humility. If somebody can be authentic and be humble, I would think that person would be a very good leader. I don't think, I know people that are their authentic selves, so to speak, but I don't always see the humility. Now this is me judging again, and myself as well. It's like two separate things.
Well, we talk about being humble before God, and we talk about seeing God in the other person and being humble to that and accepting them, forgiving them. But we rarely use that for ourselves. We don't honor that we are who we are. But when we do, when we're just another, like if we're in the room with 3 other people, how many people are in the room? There are 4. So if your life is about service, then you've got to serve all 4 of those people. If your life is about non-judgmentalness, it has to apply to all 4, not just the other 3, right? So
Yeah, it's not subservience, it's humility.
it's kind of like a molecule, atoms within a molecule, they find their right position, and their right interaction. So, but if one of those atoms were to get, all bunched up in their head about what is right or what's not, then the molecule would fall apart or there'd be stress in it. So, but yeah, I really like that, what you said, Nitu, that, yeah, being all right with the way you're being just is, there's something very humble about that to me. So that's kind of the essence of humility, because it's like really being with what is. And there's a psychologist here in the States, it might be Marion Woodman, I'm not really sure, but somebody said, nothing changes until it becomes what it is. So the possibility for transformation doesn't even occur, it's not even possible until you really acknowledge who you are, who you're being. And once you do it, then you're like in the one proper position to where you can change, you can pivot if you need to.
It makes me think of the serenity prayer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If something, if you're there, you know, it could be a reason why you're there. You know, the reason why you're there could be to affect the change that needs to happen. And for you then not to step up and perform your duty in that situation, that would be a sin. That would be the sin of omission, right? You're not doing what you should do, what God put you there to do.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you nailed it, Michael, here. Because this life is all about remembering why I came here and for what. So the
And for
purpose
what?
of life.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like too what you said about if you're giving a presentation, you have to have an ego. You know, you have to, it's performative, and you can't perform without a role, you know. So in the role, that's very much like the ego, you know. It's what they even call like the mask in Greek theater. Your persona was the mask that you wore. And the neat thing about that, and I'm sure it played out this way, that some actors then would be able to play multiple roles because all they had to do was switch masks. And how often do we do that, you know?
Mhm. Mhm.
Come home from work, you leave one mask in the car and you pick one up at the front door. Yeah.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, so back to fear and anger and all these other things that we can be okay with. So I think what comes to mind is that anything in balance can be, I don't know about not acceptable, but I just think that anything, it has to be in balance, like a, humility in balance, fear in balance.
When I was a kid, I'd go to the county fair. Sometimes they would have this big barrel, that was like 15 feet in diameter or so. And a guy on a motorcycle would get inside, the little door would open, and he'd come inside with his motorcycle and he'd start going around like this, and then get up on the wall and
Mhm.
go around in the inside of the wall. And so balance in that case is very much dependent on speed. Because if he were to stop, he'd fall like a rock, right?
Right.
How many situations in our lives are like that? Like balance is very dependent on how fast we're going, how the speed of any given situation determines what balance then is. You see, so somebody who's in a really dynamic situation, then balance is going to look a lot different. For somebody sitting still or is not involved in the situation, they're going to look like they're really out there. You know, they're really just, big ego or something like that. But for them, they have to maintain that because that's what the dynamism of the situation requires.
Mhm.
You don't want to get confused about that. So
Mhm.
But isn't that exactly what the social media is doing to us? So a lot of people are living virtual lives. So they're posting pictures and videos, and it's all about posting, commenting, liking. Are
Likes.
they actually living the moment? I don't think so. They're more bothered about, oh, how am I looking? Who is going to look at my pictures? So you're constantly in India, we call it the circle of death, I think. I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but yeah, this motorcyclist, how he keeps going on and on. And that is what a lot of people want us to do. Keep going on and on and on. Because if we stop, we won't want to go to this thing back.
right.
Because if I had the opportunity to talk to one of these guys, I really want to know, do they really like doing it? Why is, you know, so it's a
Right.
it's a very deep question, these conversations that we're having.
It's a very what? I'm sorry.
these are very deep questions. These
Yeah.
conversations that we have, they're multi-layered, We're saying something, but then it has so much more to it for us to, take back into our own lives.
Yes. Yes, that's right.
Unpack it. Hmm.
Speaking of that, Michael and I took a class years and years ago, and they were discussing the whole class is like a 3-day seminar, and it discusses it's a conversation about what it means to be human. That's it. You just sit in a room, everyone just has this, a guy leads the conversation, and one of the things they say in it is that human beings, the two things that human beings care most about are looking good, number one, and being right, number two.
Yep.
Wow,
And
that just summed me up.
well, so it's fascinating because you sit in the conversation and you see how they say you don't have to buy this, just try it on, right? Just try it on for the 3 days and just see what occurs. But it's really enlightening to see the mechanisms of the conditioned mind that we have, right? You talk about, like Michael said rightly, and you too need to, that we have to have this ego to function and persona, but it's good to know what the default like programming is, because once we can become aware of it, and then the immediate fix, most of the time most people will think, oh, they make that wrong. It's like, oh, that's wrong, I shouldn't be that way, which is just more of the same of you caring about being right, right? So you see, like, you can't get out of this, so you just accept that that's the machinery or the mechanism that we are living with, right? It's like the clothes we get to wear. But when we become conscious of it, there's this space that opens up that allows for that part of us that is beyond that or before that and more real than that to express itself. Very cool stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Thank you.
thank you.
I think tomorrow I'm going to be wrong all day.
Just to break the pattern, right?
But I still look good.
It's important to look good.
Right.
Look good at being wrong.
Well, there's what is it? Somebody says it's like, do you want to be happy or do you want to be right?
Yeah.
Mm.
Mhm.
Do you want happy wife, happy life?
Right.
No comments on this one.
Or there's the one, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, guys, this has been a real pleasure. And me too. I'm glad you showed up. And never hesitate. Too late. Just come on in. And
Yep.
it's good to see everyone. And so I think we better wrap it up now. And God, I look forward to doing this again.
Yeah, this was great.
Yeah.
I liked it. Yeah. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you,
Thank
Michael.
you.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank everybody.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
guys.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
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 Love you guys.
Love you too.
Love you too. Bye.